Are you serious? Are you serious? It is very serious. They stole it. They stole it. That's right. China's warship has just seized an underwater U.S. Navy drone which was operating in the South China Sea as Beijing conducted huge live fire exercises in these contested waters.
Breaking news, as you know, the Pentagon is saying that a Chinese naval ship has seized an unmanned drone in the South China Sea. It's being described by the Pentagon as an ocean glider. That doesn't sound like something with people on it. As they described it, it is unmanned. And yet the media is making it seem as if a ship with hostages on it has been taken or something. It's interesting to note.
You're welcome. What do you think China's trying to signal here with this move?
Well, I think it's trying to show it can humiliate the United States at will. I think it's a fitting end to the Obama administration. Couldn't come at a better time. I'm sure they didn't know about this press conference that's about to start in a few minutes. But let's face it, this is the culmination of 8 years of Obama administration weakness all around the world. Where, as you say, and I don't think you can underline this enough, it wasn't that they happened to find this drone somewhere near a beach in China. This was in international waters. The American naval research vessel was in the process of recovering the drone. The Chinese vessel came up, put a smaller boat in the water, and just took the thing away. So this is about as clear as you can get. It recalls, of course, the famous EP-3 incident in the early days of the George W. Bush administration, where a Chinese plane came up and buzzed the EP-3 and ultimately crashed, but they forced it to land on Hainan Island. That was after Bush was sworn in. But they're just showing now utter contempt for the United States. Why did they do it? Because they think they can get away with it.
Citing new satellite imagery, a U.S. think tank reported on Wednesday, China appears to have installed weapons on all 7 of the artificial islands it has built in the South China Sea. The weapons include anti-aircraft and anti-missile systems. The Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative said its findings come despite statements by the Chinese leadership that Beijing has no intention to militarize the islands in the strategic trade route. Territory there is claimed by several countries. Since June and July, AMTI said it had been tracking construction of hexagonal structures on Fiery Cross, Mischief, and Subi reefs in the Spratly Islands. China has already built military-length airstrips on these islands.
So, Dan, satellite images published by the US group appear to show anti-aircraft guns and missiles defense systems on the 7 islands. What is China's intention?
Well, it's quite hard to say what China's intention is. I mean, they continually have claimed that they are not militarizing the South China Sea, but they have also said that they will defend what they believe to be their own islands in the South China Sea. And as you said, these are anti-missile, anti-aircraft weapons. So as far as they're concerned, these are a way of defending the islands. But, you know, experts from the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative will see these as weapons nonetheless. And the global community might also interpret these as just weapons, for military use. So there is still that danger. And they also give these islands the capability of being militarized very, very quickly now that the infrastructure is in place. So it's hard to say what the intentions are, but as far as China concerns, it's still peacekeeping, it's still just self-defense.
So Dan, why is it such a big issue though?
It's a very big issue if you look at where these islands are located in the Spratlys, which are in fact very, very close to Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines. In fact, in these regions, economic exclusion zones. So according to the UN treaty, which was released quite a while ago, this is actually in waters which are really belong to not to China, but perhaps to these other countries. So not only is China saying, no, these are our waters, they're saying we will defend these waters if that's what it comes to. And not only will these be upset, but America, of course, is going to be very upset, and this will affect their freedom of navigation exercises too.
Thanks for that.
Now, Chinese officials say they will return the U.S. research drone they seized last week in the South China Sea. Many observers claim the capture was unusual, and the tension between the two nations seems to have been amplified by the U.S. president-elect's comments. Yun Xin has the full story.
China has agreed to return the U.S. underwater drone its Navy captured last week, but tensions remain between the two nations over maritime surveillance. On Saturday, Pentagon spokesperson Peter Cook said the U.S. had secured an understanding with China to have the drone returned, which a statement from the Chinese Defense Ministry appeared to confirm. The unmanned underwater vehicle, or UUV, was taken by a Chinese submarine rescue vessel on Thursday in the South China Sea, about 92 kilometers northwest of Subic Bay near the Philippines. Regarding the incident, the Chinese Defense Ministry said its vessel discovered a piece of unidentified equipment and checked it for the sake of navigational safety before discovering it was a U.S. drone. U.S. officials said the drone was within sight of another American naval ship that was about to retrieve it when the Chinese vessel picked it up. The Pentagon immediately went public with the complaint, saying the drone was lawfully conducting scientific research in international waters. And U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has criticized the unusual seizure through Twitter, accusing China of stealing research equipment. After Beijing agreed to return the drone, Trump went on and tweeted that the U.S. doesn't want the drone back and said, let them keep it. China's defense ministry expressed regret at what it called the hyping up of the incident by Washington. While some see the deal to return the drone as helping diffuse recent tensions between the two powers, it's also added to concerns over Beijing's increasing assertiveness in the disputed waters of the South China Sea. Yun Xin, Arirang News.
China is preparing to return the underwater drone it seized from the U.S. Navy. The drone was taken Thursday in the South China Sea, about 50 miles off the Philippines. The U.S. publicly demanded its return. China accused the U.S. of dramatizing the event. President-elect Donald Trump summarized the incident Saturday. On Twitter, he called it an unprecedented act. Senator John McCain said China's actions are a gross violation of international law. Adriana Diaz is in Beijing with how the incident escalated. Adriana, good morning.
Good morning. After both the U.S. and China agreed the drone would be returned, President-elect Trump waded into the issue on Twitter. His comments breathed new life into a matter both militaries seemed eager to put behind them.
Chinese state media delivered a statement from its military this weekend that was laced with annoyance. It said China would return the drone because it posed no safety threat, but added that the U.S. has unilaterally and inappropriately hyped the issue.
Thank you, Alabama.
Hours later, Mr. Trump, while in Alabama for his victory tour Saturday, launched 2 tweets at China. The most recent said, "We should tell China that we don't want the drone they stole back. Let them keep it." China didn't appreciate the comment. "We don't like the word steal. That's totally inaccurate," said spokesman Hua Chunying. The Chinese Navy found the device and examined it in a professional manner. It's as if you saw something on the street and someone asked you for it. You'd have to examine if it really belongs to them. An editorial in the state-run tabloid, the Global Times, went further, issuing a threat. It said if Mr. Trump treats China after assuming office in the same way as in his tweets, China will not exercise restraint. The drone at the center of this diplomatic posturing was conducting underwater research like this one. The U.S. military says the one seized by China Thursday was collecting information on water temperature and sound speed, though its data can also be used to hunt for Chinese submarines. The incident played out at the center of one of the most sensitive issues between the U.S. and China, the South China Sea. 6 countries claim parts of the sea, but China declares nearly all of it is theirs. And recent satellite images show China installing weapons on artificial islands it built there to defend its claim.
Further complicating the matter is that the drone appears to have been outside of China's self-proclaimed jurisdiction. A U.S. defense official says the drone will be returned in a boat-to-boat transfer. The timing is still unclear, but we're told it could be delayed by weather. Gail?
All right, got it, Adriana. Thank you very much. Reporting from Beijing.